want us to just take a minute here and fast forward to January, NFC Championship. It's 30-something degrees. All right, it's wet, it's windy. All right, shitty for them, okay, but it's just right for us.
It feel to go through both of those teams to earn your trip to the Super Bowl?
We did not care. And now we're going to the Super Bowl.
The Seattle Seahawks are headed back to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 2014 season, and honestly, they were never supposed to get there. Just 2 years ago, the franchise looked lost. After a 9-8 season, longtime head coach Pete Carroll was fired, and Seattle appeared to be headed straight into a rebuild of some sort or fashion. Maybe not a full rebuild, but a retooling of some sort. The road to contention looked long, painful, and uncertain. Then came Mike MacDonald. In his first season as the Seahawks head coach, the results were positive even though Seattle missed the playoffs. But questions were asked when the Seahawks traded away Geno Smith, a proven quarterback, and then signing Sam Darnold, a guy who had been basically clowned since entering the NFL. A quarterback known for coming up short in big moments, as opposed to winning them, which was on full display in the wild card just a few months before they signed him. But here we are, the Seahawks are NFC champions. They've built one of the most complete rosters in football, have one of the best wide receivers in the league, paired with what might be the best coaching staff in the NFL. From top to bottom, this team doesn't just compete, it overwhelms. So how did the Seahawks flip the script so fast? How did a team trending downwards just 2 years ago transform into a team heading to the Super Bowl? The Seahawks once ruled the league with the Legion of a Boom. Now a new era has arrived. They're now the dark side. To understand how the Seahawks pulled this off, we need to rewind back to January 10th, 2024. That's the day news broke that longtime head coach Pete Carroll was being essentially let go, but transitioning into a different role with the organization. Seattle had gone 9-8 in 2023 with Carroll, and while it wasn't necessarily a disaster, it was clear the ceiling had been reached with Pete Carroll, and the franchise needed a new direction. And 3 weeks later, that new direction had arrived. On January 31st, the Seahawks hired Mike MacDonald, the defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens, as their new head coach. And at the time, the vision of this hire could not have been more clear. The Ravens had the best defense in the NFL that season in terms of points allowed per game, while Seattle ranked 25th. The defense didn't just need some tweaks here and there, it kind of needed a full reset. And MacDonald wasted no time. The Seahawks cut ties with safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, while letting linebackers Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks walk in free agency. It was the end of an era. The old guard was finally gone. Leonard Williams, who the team traded for in 2023, was extended to be the anchor of the defensive line in the defense, a move that quietly set the tone for what was to come under their new head coach. With his first draft pick as the Seahawks head coach, MacDonald selected defensive tackle Byron Murphy, a guy who is widely viewed as the best defensive lineman in the draft class, and that pre-draft hype to this point has lived up to the expectation. And Murphy has quickly become one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Seattle also drafted linebacker Tyrese Knight in the 4th round, a pretty good pick for where they got him, and tight end AJ Bonner, who added depth to the offense in the 4th round. MacDonald's first season got started off pretty hot. They won 3 games in a row, starting off 3-0. But reality hit fast. Over the next 3 games, the Seahawks were gashed on the ground, giving up 519 rushing yards to the Lions, the Giants, and the 49ers, losing all 3 games, and by their bye week, Seattle was 4-5. This simply wasn't good enough. Adjustments had to be made, and that's exactly what MacDonald did. Seattle finished the season 10-7, their first double-digit win season since 2020. A midseason trade for linebacker Ernest Jones helped stabilize the defense, which ended up ranking 12th in points allowed per game before being 25th the year before. The Seahawks may have had 10 wins, but they still missed the playoffs. However, though, the foundation was set. The 2025 offseason began with the Seattle Seahawks firing offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb after just 1 season. While the offense ranked basically overall middle of the pack, the running game was bottom 5 in the league, and that was not acceptable for Mike MacDonald. 20 days later, the Seattle Seahawks hired Klint Kubiak, an offensive coordinator who prioritizes the running game. He had shown some promise with the Saints as the offensive play caller, especially those first 2 weeks, but due to some injuries and Derek Carr being his quarterback, that momentum slowed down and limited what the offense could eventually become. Then came the move that shocked everybody.
I know, it's happening pretty quick. Free agency, crazy trades. Geno Smith traded to Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders. It took a second for me to digest this.
And before the video continues, I'd appreciate it if you took 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe. Hype it up as well. It would mean a lot to me. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. As I'm recording this, we're about to hit 16K and I need your help and support. Just take a few seconds. We're gonna have a bunch of really cool offseason videos coming out and you don't want to miss them. All right, let's get back to the video. The Seattle Seahawks traded Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders, reuniting him with head coach Pete Carroll. Geno Smith at that point had proven that he is an above average starting NFL quarterback, and those are hard to find, but Seattle had a vision. After trading away Geno Smith, come free agency, they signed Sam Darnold fresh off a breakout season in Minnesota where he led the Vikings to a 14-3 record. Fans though weren't thrilled to say the least, and the national media wasn't a big fan of the signing either. You see, Sam Darnold with the Minnesota Vikings collapsed in the biggest games. In week 18, a must-win game to get the #1 seed, and he fell apart. Then in the wild card versus the Los Angeles Rams, pressure got to him. He was seeing ghosts, and the pressure got to him yet again, and he couldn't come through in a big moment. So with the signing of Sam Darnold, that narrative followed him all the way to Seattle, that he could not show up in big games. But Seattle saw something different than everyone else. They saw a quarterback who fit their system, and one who had sliced up Mike MacDonald's defense in week 16 the year before.
Stepping up, launching downfield, and it is touchdown.
Sam Darnold was younger than Geno Smith and contract-wise was cheaper than Geno Smith. And on top of that, he already was familiar with how Klint Kubiak wanted to run his offense. You see, they spent a year with each other in San Francisco in 2023. And while Klint Kubiak didn't necessarily call plays, his offense is very similar to the Kyle Shanahan offense, which is what Sam Darnold had learned that year. So the transition was going to be a lot easier than say with Geno Smith, and it was going to be seamless. And the changes didn't stop there. The Seattle Seahawks traded DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers and released wide receiver Tyler Lockett, a franchise legend, clearing the way for Jaxon smith-njigba to become the wide receiver 1 in his 3rd season. He led the team in receiving yards in 2024, and the front office and coaching staff felt confident making him the guy to build their offense around and make Sam Darnold's top target. And they were right once again with everything else that they've done to this point. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp from the Rams got a pretty big contract from the Seahawks, one that was a lot cheaper than DK Metcalf's, making it easier for the Seahawks to manage. The Seahawks also extended Jerron Reed, their defensive lineman, and signed DeMarcus Lawrence from the Dallas Cowboys, who openly said he came to Seattle to win a Super Bowl, something he didn't believe he would be able to do in Dallas.
You know, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. You know, my family lives there. You know, I'm forever going to be there, but, you know, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah.
We're here. DeMarcus Lawrence, welcome to the Seahawks. Thanks for joining us.
In April, Seattle drafted offensive lineman Bray Zabel to upgrade their interior offensive line to protect Sam Darnold, which was a massive hit. In round 2, they traded up using the pick they got from the Pittsburgh Steelers to select safety Nick Emmanwori, a playmaking safety that MacDonald had a vision for. In Baltimore, he was part of the staff that drafted Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the NFL, if not the best safety. And if he could get Nick Emmanwori playing in that similar role and playing even half as good, he was going to be dangerous. In the later rounds, they drafted wide receiver Torrey Holton and tight end Elijah Arroyo, more solid players in a draft class that was already pretty damn good. And after the draft, the roster was complete and Seattle was ready. The season didn't start off smoothly. Seattle opened with a home loss to the 49ers, dropping MacDonald's home record as the Seahawks head coach to 3-7, which frustrated all the fans because they know how awesome it is to have the 12th man and how loud it can get, but when you're 3-7 at home, it's kind of hard to get into it. But that narrative did not last long at all. The next home game was an absolute demolition of the Saints. They just kicked their ass on all phases: offense, defense, and special teams, and I don't want to say anything else regarding that game. A close loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers handed the Seahawks their second defeat of the season, but heading into the bye week, they were 5-2, and coming out of the bye, they obliterated the Commanders on the road. With Sam Darnold playing elite football, the game was basically over before halftime. Days later though, Seattle made another aggressive move. They made a trade for wide receiver and returner Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints at the trade deadline. This trade reunited Rashid Shaheed with offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak from their days in New Orleans, adding a deep threat to the offense as well and one of the most dangerous return men in football. Pairing his speed with Jaxon smith-njigba, who just does everything at an elite level, was going to make it a lot harder to stop that offense, because now you can double team JSN, because now if you lead Shaheed one-on-one, that speed is just going to burn you deep. After dominating the Cardinals at home in a defensive masterclass, Seattle hit a speed bump, losing to the Rams in LA, a team that had consistently given Sam Darnold problems. In this game, they forced 4 interceptions. But that loss lit a fire in the Seahawks. They went on to win 7 straight games in the regular season, including a thrilling overtime win over the Rams at home, which was sparked by a Rashid Shaheed punt return touchdown. They beat the Falcons on the road, which kind of got ignited by a Rashid Shaheed kick return touchdown. And in the final week of the season, in a battle for the #1 seed, they shut down a red-hot 49ers offense and won 13-3. And for the first time since 2014, the Seattle Seahawks were the #1 seed and controlled their own destiny to get to the Super Bowl. Come the playoffs, after the bye week, the Seahawks were ready, and 13 seconds into the divisional round versus the 49ers, the game was already over.
With a seam, Shaheed breaks through. Still going. He's going to take it all the way.
Rashid Shaheed returned the opening kickoff all the way back to the end zone for the touchdown, setting the tone for the game. And the Seahawks defense was playing top tier football and only allowing 6 points, meaning the Seahawks special teams alone in the first 13 seconds of the game would have beaten the 49ers. The NFC Championship was round 3 between the NFC's best, the Seattle Seahawks, and the team that had Sam Darnold's number the most, the LA Rams, with the MVP candidate Matthew Stafford at the helm. A game that was back and forth, 2 elite play callers in Kubiak and McVay, but when the team needed to make a game-winning play and put the team on their back, it was MacDonald's defense coming up big at the end of the game. And with that, now the Seahawks are headed to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who was labeled a guy who couldn't win big games. In just 2 years, MacDonald took a team filled with a bunch of uncertainty and turned them into Super Bowl contenders with an elite roster top to bottom. Seattle once had the Legion of Boom, now they have the dark side, one of the most feared defenses in football. And how did they get there? Well, smart offseason moves, elite drafting, underrated trades, and the balls to make tough decisions like trading away Geno Smith and trading away DK Metcalf instead of doing what was comfortable. And because of these tough decisions and moves, the Seattle Seahawks are back chasing a Super Bowl rematch with the Patriots.
We did not care.
Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe, hype it up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on what you think how the Seahawks basically did this fast rebuild, retool back into contention. Thanks for tuning into the Kaj Football Channel, the best place for casuals like us to talk about the NFL. I'm Kaj, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Peace.